Okay, welcome back. So this is the second part of the FIFA boot modding tutorial. It's a little bit back and forth. It's only because my screen recording capture will only do one application at a time. So hopefully this will all make sense. What I have learned how to do is effectively add a stencil to the boot model, which makes lining up things a lot easier than it does when you're looking at a 2D image. So in Blender, what you want to do is, we talked about earlier, importing an Fbx file. So let's find that Fbx. And I've got shoe underscore 69, nice, underscore mesh.fbx. So let's import that. So obviously, as you can see, it's imported, but it's tiny. So what we do is we hit N for November on the keyboard, and then go View, and then clip start 0.1 to 0.001. Click back into it, and then we're going to hit 3, and then scroll all the way in. That was 3 on the number pad, by the way. So the boot model is actually split into 3 different models. I really don't like the top and the bottom being anywhere near this, so I tend to get rid of them. So I just delete that one and delete that one. We'll stay with this one. We then want to go into UV editing, and what we can see is, there we go. We've got the texture map. So what we can do for this is effectively we're like reverse engineering. So what you can do is hit image, and you can save it, or you could do say a control print screen and then put it into Photoshop and just literally like cut out the square and then work from that. That would be my advice. You want to make sure that the size is 1024 by 1024, just so it's a little bit nicer to look at than a 512 by 512. Okay, so anyway, so we're in the UV editing tab. So again, we're going to have to go hit N for November, View, clip start, and then hit 3, and then scroll all the way in. And then if we hit A, then we've got that to look at. It looks quite nice. And we'll come back to this a little later. Next one, we've got texture paint. Now, let's just set it up right now so it's ready to go. So November on the keyboard, View 0001, 3, scroll in. Okay, it's in purple. Brilliant. So once we've got those 3 tabs up, the last tab we look at is shading. So here is a little bit tricky. So you've got to left click the red and white circle, and then hit the decimal point on your number pad. That brings it in, and then I hit 3 because I like the side-on view, scroll in. At this point, we hit New, scroll out, and you get these 2 boxes, and these are going to help you with your texture map. So if we press Shift A for alpha, and then go texture, image texture, put a box there, and then open, what we can do is go into the white concept, and then we called the last PNG file 1000. So let's open that image, and then as you can see, it's not on there yet. So what you need to do is drag this color to base color, and ta-da, we can see it. It's now mapped onto the model, and this is what it would look like in game. If we go back now to texture paint, we can see that it is also mapped here. And looking quite nice. And you can see in our last video, we photoshopped this small tick to go right at the front. So that's what it looks like. But obviously aligning stuff like that is quite difficult. So what we have learnt to do is, if you press 3 there just to get a side-on view, if we go down to this texture properties, so checkered flag, and hit New, and then open, and then white concept, and then this Nike logo, which is again is PNG, and PNGs are really important to use because obviously they don't have a background, which means that you won't be painting a background onto these shoes. So now we have that texture loaded there. What we need to do now is click on this little tool icon here and go down to texture, and then you can see here it says mapping tiled. So if you go to stencil, then what you do when you go over this image is that you can see, aha, we have a stencil. Although that's great, this should be exactly the same as that switch, but you can see the image aspect is allowed. So if you click image aspect there, then that will make it in proportion. Now here what you can do is you can hit Control right click and you can rotate, or you can hit right click Shift and you can contract or expand the stencil that you're working on. To give you an idea of what that looks like when it's on, you can just place it wherever you like. So let's, for argument's sake, just put it there. And then if we place it as we want it, and then we use the left click, and then just go over it, just holding the left click, and it's on. Now if I turn your attention to the left side, so the 2D image, once I release this left click, aha, that night tick turns up. So that's exactly where it would be placed. This means that if you're going to use any stencils like this, or image references from the internet, sometimes it's a lot easier to place them this way. It doesn't really matter whether or not you go over the lines or go into other areas, because you can always go back into Photoshop and tidy it up. But to get your ideas of exactly where you want your stencils to be, I find that this is quite good. In the last video, we also talked about the disconnect here between this part of the wrap and this part here as well. And so what happens when you have a texture image that you want to go over one part of this and you want to wrap it around there? What do? So for this, what I realized is that although it's quite tricky to try and line it up properly, if you try and line it up like this and bring that stencil up again, we can imagine that if we take it like this and make it a little larger, that's going to go across the disconnect of the wrap that we can see here and here. So having it over here, again, we're just going to paint it on just like that. And again, drawing your attention to the image on the left hand side, we can see that it's gone from here to here and it's connected it up nicely. So once you've had that done, you know, the world's your oyster really, but what I like to do here is then go up to image with the asterisk, click that, and then save that as a copy. We'll call that 1001.png and save that. And then we'll be able to go back into Photoshop and edit the colors or do whatever we want with it. But yeah, that's the end of that part of the tutorial. Please let me know if you've got any advice or other methods of doing this. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.